Hi, this is James Gordon O'Toole here with the seventh book in the Jack Ryan John Clark series. The book I'll be talking about today, The Sum of All Fears by Tom Clancy. This was published by G.P. Pullman Sons on August 11th, 1991. This was an absolutely disappointing read. I absolutely hated reading this novel. Before I read it, I was very curious what this book was going to be about. I knew it had something to do with nuclear warheads and stuff, and I was like, okay, so nuclear warheads. So this might involve terrorists or some country going to attack another, or even the United States. And it's up to Jack Ryan and his team to stop them. What I got instead was something like out of a soap opera. This book has so much drama. It is boring as hell. It is one of the most stressful things I ever had to read through. As the first half of this novel, the first act, is just drama. It is just characters arguing, yelling at each other, backstabbing, betrayal, and a whole bunch of other unwanted shit that I absolutely did not enjoy reading through. And then towards the middle of the book, we finally start to see a plot form, but you still have more drama to get through. But by the time you get to the third and final act of this novel, where something finally starts happening, it is just the drama it just increases, and it just becomes so stressful. It's like my best way to describe this book is it's like you're on one of those very long family road trips, and you're like in the back seat of a car, and it's just nothing but drama, just trying to get to the destination of dealing with all these people that you don't like, and it's like you can't get out until you get there, and that's what it felt like. It felt like I was in the back seat of a car having to read through this drama bullshit, and it was just it is awful. There were several times where I had to put this book down because I was getting so stressed out reading this book because of all the drama and other political bullshit that goes on in this book. It was really boring the living hell out of me, and I had to take a couple breaks from reading it, and there were several times where I didn't even want to get back where I left off because I just wasn't having fun with it. I don't know what Clancy saw of this book, but I think this is his second worst novel I've read so far in the series since Red Rabbit. Both of those books are bad, but at least this has something something happens in this book, unlike Red Rabbit, which had nothing. This is just as I said, is when the plot finally reveals what's happening, and when it finally gets moving, it still isn't anything to write home about. But overall, this was just a terrible book, and I would just say skip this book. If you're curious as a Clancy fan, you want to read this. I'll let you decide that, but overall, I did not enjoy it. I would just say pass on this book. I will explain my review of the many problems and issues I have with this novel, and overall, this was just an awful novel. I am so hoping that the next books in the series get a lot better after this one. Alright, on to the book review. Plot. During the Yom Kippur War in October 1973, an intense battle between Israel and Syrian forces near Kraf Shams, with the two sides fighting each other both on land and in the air. IDF plans to conduct a tactical nuclear strike to weaken their enemies, but is called off. When a squad of A-4 Skyhawks are called back into base, they are under attack by rocket strikes and artillery. Lieutenant Mordecai Zadin, or Moti, by friends, is asked to borrow a fighter plane that got called back, as Moti wants to serve his country and see some action. The pilot allows Morty to borrow his A-4 Skyhawk, but wants him to strip it down later. Morty takes to the sky and flies over Syria border, launching a series of rockets along with unleashing 22mm guns on his targets. But just as he completes his mission, SAMs lock onto his fighter as he and three others try to outrun the SAMs but are blown out of the sky. Modity is shot down and crashes near a farm with the nuclear payload still on board his wrecked fighter. A farmer buries the plane unaware of what it's carrying, as the IDF fears those nuclear bombs will be used against them by one of their neighboring countries, but have no idea where the fighter jet or its payload is. 1990. With the Cold War getting closer to being over, Deputy Director of Central Intelligence DDCI, Jack Ryan is dealing with tension in the Middle East along with clash between people of Israel and Palestine. While some think there isn't a way to resolve this matter, Jack, however, has an idea. With him is Dr. Charles Aladdin, National Security Advisor, is planning to form a peace process by convincing Jerusalem into a Vatican-like independent city-state to administered by a tribunal of 5 religions: Muslim, Roman Catholic, Eastern Orthodox, and Jewish, and secured a independent coalition of Swiss guards to ensure neither side can attack the other. While everything is the same at home, however, Ryan is hardly with family now and is always busy with work. He feels bad about missing his son's baseball game and is hoping to catch up the next one, and feels drained after each day at work. He also now has a personal driver and bodyguard, John Clark, who pulls up in a black Buick. Clark is only doing this since it keeps him in the military, as Ryan sees Clark is very valuable and a skilled soldier. Meanwhile, FBI agent Dan Murray is in the middle of dealing with a militia group, the Native American Warrior Society. The FBI attempted to raid a hideout of NAWS, but goes horribly wrong when one of the snipers misses his target, causing the NAWS to fire back, leading into an intense shootout with several hostages are killed. One of the members is John Russell, brother of Marvin Russell, who learns about his brother's death and is angered by the actions of how his people have been treated by a white man and swears revenge. Ryan is awakened in bed and is told to put the news on. Ryan reaches for his TV remote and puts on the CNN. He sees a protest happening at the Temple Mount. Israeli police fire rubber bullets and tear gas into several Arab citizens, leaving many of them badly injured. Then, a police chief, Captain Benjamin Zaidi, or Benny, orders the Arabs to leave, with one refusing to move. Without hesitation, Benjamin draws his sidearm and executes the man point-blank range, unaware a camera crew was filming the whole event. When Ryan goes to the CIA building with several other members outraged by this event, fearing this police brutality will trigger a war unless they get their peace plan in action, but the president won't do anything against this killing as it would affect the relationship with Israel. Ryan is sickened by this and is told to fly to Rome to visit the Vatican and talk with the other head members of each religion to begin the peace plan. He realizes he's going to miss his son's baseball game again because of this. Marvin gets in contact with a German Palestinian terrorist group who wishes to aid them and to get revenge on the United States. Run by Gunther Brock, Ibrahim Gome, and Ismail Okay. When he's picked up at the airport, he is followed by an undercover agent. Marvin spots out the taxi following them and tells the driver to punch it, driving faster till he orders him to stop. The pursuing car loses control and crashes. Marvin goes up to the driver and snaps his neck, killing him as he flees. As Ryan is traveling to different parts of the world, meeting with several leaders, hoping to get them to agree to his peace plan. However, back in Washington, D.C., advisor for the president, J. Robert Flower, Elizabeth Elliott, who wishes to get revenge on Jack Ryan, who she held a grudge against after failing to frame him for the stock scam, along with Dr. Charles Aladdin when he took her position of National Security Advisor, but was denied it. Using evidence of affairs he had on some of his students, Elliot is able to destroy Charles' career in a sex scandal act that causes him to have a mental breakdown, leaving him to suffering a stroke, killing him. After traveling to Rome, Saudi Arabia, Jerusalem, and the Alps, Ryan and Arnold Avi Van Dam, Chief of Staff, are making progress with the President Flower pleased. However, Ryan is told that Elliot is now acting national security after the death of Charles. Both Ryan and Arnie explain the other countries are willing to agree to a peace deal. However, Israel isn't. President Fowler will pressure them to agree to it. Ryan rejects it, stating they need to give them time. Both Elliot and Marcus Cabot, Director of Central Intelligence, express hostility and reject his waiting plan. Ryan dislikes both of them. Using her power and body, Elliot is able to convince President Fowler to take credit for the peace treaty and to leave Ryan out of it as much as possible. However, Fowler refuses to get rid of Ryan, stating he's important to the CIA. Despite getting the different nations to come together and to take part of the peace treaty, Ryan is furious when he sees on CNN of the president taking credit for it. While talking with his boss Marcus, he tells Ryan there is a problem going on in Japan and wants him to handle it. Ibrahim is impressed with Marvin and allows him to join their group. He is then later contacted about a wrecked fighter jet buried under a field in Syria. Ibrahim and Marvin go to check out the fighter and discover its payload. They carefully remove it and bring it back to their base, with Ibrahim disassembling it and realizes it's a nuclear warhead. With the peace treaty going on, Ibrahim and OK are planning on using it against their enemies. Just as the treaty is getting underway, tensions rise between Israel and the other nations. And people are liking the idea of another nation watching and guarding them, making them feel threatened. Elliot continues to snoop around on Jack Ryan, trying to find anything to use against him. When Ryan is told the treaty has been cancelled, he is furious and feels betrayed by his own people. He figures out who's behind it, Elliot, along with President Fowler, and begins to feel pressure at work as it's taking a toll on him, causing him to drink more, sleep less, and becoming stressed. Clark tries convincing Ryan to take a vacation but refuses. Ryan then learns of missing nukes with the Russians getting involved and begins looking into it, along with the investigation with Japan and corrupt deals. However, there's a leak with the Russian data and Ryan comes under hot water from Marcus, and to make matters worse, Clark notices a van and car watching Ryan's house, unaware he's being surveillance. During Christmas, Elliot then plants false evidence against Ryan, trying to get his wife Kathy to turn against him, which nearly works until Clark and Domino Cortez Ding step in and reveal all the evidence she found was false and prove her that Ryan wasn't having an affair behind her back. Kathy forgives Ryan and swears revenge whoever did this to them. Ibrahim, OK, and Marvin are getting closer with their terrorist plan to trigger World War III by staging a false flag in both the United States and Russia, while their real bomb will be detonated during the Super Bowl game. Ryan, Clark, Chavez, Dan, and others race against time to stop the terrorist master plan, but not only that, both Ryan and Kathy have a score to settle with Elliot, who threatens his career at the CIA. Can Ryan and those who trust him save the world from nuclear war? Time is running out. The Sum of All Fears was a complete dud. Non-stop drama, making this one the most miserable thing I've ever read through, along with being nearly bored at times. A very rough and slow start to read through, followed by a bunch of unlikable characters that made my blood boil for all the shit they caused towards Jack Ryan and everyone else that got in their way. Having to plow through this massive brick wasn't fun at all. The worse it got, the more I hated this novel, to the point where I had to set it down several times because all the drama was boring the living hell out of me and stressing me out. Despite being detailed in both locations, Waverly vehicles, along with its cast of heavily layered characters, and having a few moments of intense scenes with some action, but this wasn't enough to save this novel. My main issue with The Sum of All Fears is it focuses too much on the drama that nearly borderlines into soap opera levels, with most of the characters arguing, yelling at each other, backstabbing, along with unwanted filler that stretched this already thick novel, increasing its page length, making it too long. I absolutely hated the characters of Elliot, Marcus, and President Fowler the most. Elliot is one of the most disgusting female characters I have read. A pure, evil, heartless person who uses both her body and power to gain whatever she wants, and the lengths Elliot goes to accomplish this really made my blood boil, and was questioning why Clancy felt the need to bring back this character from his previous novel, and trying to destroy both Ryan's career and his relationship with Kathy, and nearly succeeds. Marcus Cabot was a selfish, rude, ignorant jerk who pushes Ryan around and snaps at him, along with taking Elliot's side, and President Fowler is nearly bad as Elliot, along with almost starting a nuclear war when he loses it, and because of his actions towards Ryan early on in the novel. This could have been much more worse had he gotten his way. I hate these characters so much, I wanted them to die the most painful death they could possibly suffer. As for the terrorist characters, while they are scumbags, but I understand their motives and reasons for what they're doing, and enjoy their scenes more than the other scenes I really hated. And the subplot featuring a sub-crew from The Hunt for October really dragged on the story, not playing a key role until the very end. I felt these scenes weren't necessary. Lastly, I wasn't thrilled with the plot. I found it for the most part boring, and having to plow through page after page of drama just to get to it didn't pay off well. And was hoping for a grand finale, instead got the usual capture the bad guys and send them off to be punished for their crimes, and the other characters I hated either got a slap on the wrist or derailed their careers. Seriously, I don't know what Clancy saw with this novel, as I wish he wrote something else instead, as I absolutely hated this novel and have no desire to pick it up ever again. I would rather read pages of non-stop action, suspense, intense thrills while taking place in any locations with a better cast of characters to follow. Instead, what I got with the Summer of Fears was a drama-fueled ride that was stressful and nearly wanted to quit reading it because it was boring the living hell out of me and couldn't stand most of the characters. I strongly believe Clancy thought he could try combining our thriller with a political drama and misses the mark completely. I would rather have this novel be a techno thriller or an action war novel than what he wrote instead. Maybe it's a good thing this novel wasn't made into a film right after Clear Present Danger, as if I had to sit through a 2-hour long movie with Elliot and all the drama bullshit, then I would just walk out. Overall, I don't recommend the Stonewall Fears. There's nothing fun about it, nor delivers any thrills. It's just a stressful read that's a slow burn to get through with no big grand finale. If you're curious about it, be warned that it isn't until towards the end when things begin happening. I would say skip it and go to the next novel instead. Alright, that's the review today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm so glad to be done with this book, as I absolutely fucking hated it. As I said at the beginning of the video, this was one of the most stressful books I ever read through, and because of how bad it is, I had to put this book down several times just to relax, calm down, do something else for a bit before I got back to it. And there have been several days I didn't even want to pick the book up because it's like, oh man, I have to read this fucking thing again. I just like this is I'm not kidding. This book is one of the most stressful things I ever read, and because of that, I didn't even want to pick it up. So that's why this review took a little longer than usual, because this was not a fun read at all. As I said, it's a slow burn to get through. The first 400 pages is just pure drama. It is not fun to read, and even as I plowed through it, my blood was just boiling at the terrible things that Elliot and the President are doing against Jack Ryan, along with Marcus and a bunch of other shit I really don't care about. And it was a real chore to get through this book, and I nearly wanted to call it quits at one point because I couldn't stand it. It was getting to that point where I was really hating this book so much I just wanted to say fuck it and just give up and move on to the next book. But I thought, no, I'm determined to finish this novel and see how it ends and see what the finale is going to be. However, as I got to the ending, it wasn't like any big grand finale, and I was kind of like hoping, Tom Clancy would do something different from his previous book, like do something different here, but instead he just does what he did in the last book, and I was hoping for something different. From my research on The Summer of Fears, I understand that this was Clancy's first attempt at a novel back in the late 70s, but he ended up putting it aside along with Without Remorse before he moved on to his other projects, which would become for The Hunt for October and Patriot Games. I thought, okay, the idea that a plane carrying a nuclear payload crash lands somewhere behind enemy lines and a bunch of terrorists find the wrecked fighter's payload and they plan to use it in a terrorist attack. Okay, that's a great idea to start the book off, but then it just gets boring. It doesn't deliver anything interesting after that. So when the book follows Jack Ryan, he's in the middle of trying to negotiate this peace treaty between a bunch of Middle Eastern countries. That way they can live together peacefully and not fighting each other, so, to make the world a better place. But okay, this is interesting. But then, when the moment that the character Elliot appears in the book, she just absolutely begins to destroy Jack Ryan's career, and then decides to take it a step further and try to derail his relationship with Kathy. And I fucking hated this character. She's a real cold-hearted bitch throughout the novel. I fucking hated her. And she was one of the most disgusting characters I ever read. I really despise people who use their power and their body just to gain what they want and then destroy anyone's lives just so that way they can get rid of them and then they can just do whatever they want. I really hate people who do this in real life, and this character was one of the most despicable characters I read. I was like, I hope something happens to this Elliot character, because I really fucking hated her. Along with President Fowler, who is just an absolute asshole in this book. I was like, oh, I just want these characters to die. I just want them to die. And along with the CIA boss, Caleb Marcus, who's another asshole I hated in the book. I just really hate these characters, and every time I had to read what they were doing, it just made my blood boil to the point where I had to put the book down and just take a breather. As oh man, I was getting so stressed just having to read these characters. Whenever it featured the terrorists or what they were planning, okay, I enjoyed those scenes. Those scenes were good. Those scenes were interesting. But as soon as I went back to the other characters, I really couldn't care less for them. Um, well, like when it does feature the scenes of Jack Ryan, there's very little scenes of him like having a good day. It's mostly just having a really one shitty day after another at work, and the stress that this causes him, and it brings a toll on him and his family. I'll say to myself, I wouldn't mind having some family scenes with Jack being with his family and stuff. I wouldn't mind seeing some scenes of that. There's very little of that in the book. I was hoping to see some of that, just changed up a little bit. Like, I think it really interesting to see Jack's family life as well, besides just what he does at work. Like kind of like I felt Clancy could have followed one half of his life at work and the other half of his family. Like just if we follow what he does both at work and home, just to make it a little different and stuff. But Clancy doesn't do that. He just mainly focuses on the drama and all this other political bullshit that I really disliked. And there was really nothing interesting with this book. And then I was kind of baffled that Jack Ryan now has a personal driver and bodyguard, Clark, which I thought would really hate this role because he's a man of action who wants to get shit done, and yet now here he is driving Ryan to the CIA building and stuff. I thought, this guy can drive himself there. Why does he need a personal driver and bodyguard? However, this does pay off in the end, having Clark as he begins to notice things going on at the Ryan household. And I thought, why didn't Clark, tell Ryan what was going on? But he told his wife instead about when the false when Ellie was planting false evidence in Ryan's house. I thought you should tell Ryan too, so that way he knows what's going on. Because when Kathy begins to turn on him, Ryan's like, "What the hell is going on?" And I think to myself, Clark, why are you not telling Ryan what's happening? But luckily, it doesn't go. Luckily, it doesn't get any worse after that. So yeah, so another thing I was concerned about this book was I remember reading the trivia about the on Clear after the success of Clear Present Danger, Paramount Pictures was then going to do the Stoneville Fears, but as the next film. But however, Clancy was so outraged how Paramount handled his last book that he didn't want them to do anything. He wanted like a say on what changes they could make and what changes they couldn't make, and this caused tension between Clancy and the studio as Clancy stalled the project, and then after he came to agreement of like some payment agreement, he then ran into another problem. They wanted to change the terrorist plot because they felt it was too similar to Black Sunday, and Clancy refused this, and this pretty much derailed the film project permanently after that. And I was concerned. I was like, did Clancy copy the too much from Black Sunday? Because I was thinking to myself, don't tell me the terrorists are going to try the same thing. They're going to like fly a blimp over the stadium and then blow it up with all the people in it. As I'm reading this, they did mention that there's characters that do bring up this film a couple times, and I don't mind Paul Contra references mentioned in like books and stuff, but when it's a little too much, then I find it's just kind of annoying, because I'd rather just be the story is like set in its own universe, not have too much Paul Cover references. But as I'm reading this, I was kind of like I was curious like how the terrorists going to do is they get the luckily though it's not a direct copy of Black Sunday. They take inspiration from the film that the characters talk about, but it's completely different. So I thought, okay, that's fine. I was kind of hoping that the terrorists tried to assassinate the president at the Super Bowl, and the bomb goes off, and it causes the stadium to collapse. And I was really hoping that the scene would happen, so that way I could see Fowler and especially Elliot die while being crushed in this stadium as it comes crumbling down. Sadly, that doesn't happen, unfortunately. So that doesn't happen. It's part, but the state being attacked was part of a much larger plan. I think it could have been better. In my opinion, I just really didn't like the plot of this book, and we don't get to see Clark and Cortez do much. They just apprehend. Spoiler: they apprehend the terrorists at the end of the book, and I was like, you're not going to have these characters fight each other like in a big shootout or something. Nope, they just figure out where they're going, get there before they do, arrest them, and just send them off to be punished for to other countries for crimes they commit. I was like, really, Clancy? Come on. Have a showdown between these characters. Have them fight each other instead of the typical just go after them and arrest them type thing. I just found that really boring. Yeah. So overall, this was just one of the second worst book. And unlike Red Rabbit, which had nothing happening, some of yours does have something. Does have a few things happen towards the end of the book, but it's. Oh man, to me it was just not just having to read through that entire drama-filled novel just to see little bits of suspense and action we get was not worth it, if you ask me. Oh, this is a book I don't even want to even read again. After I was done reading it, I was like, I have no desire to read this again. It just stressed the hell out of me, and why would I want to read something stressful a second time? It's basically it's like you stub your toe, and basically you're just gonna just stub it again even harder at this point. So it's not worth it. And I'm glad I'm never gonna read this book again because there was this one edition I was eyeing on eBay. It was like this British edition which had a really sharp cover. It was the same artist that did the Clear Presence Danger cover. But after I read this book, I don't want to own any other editions of it because I'm never gonna pick up this book and read it again. Like there are several other Clancy books I would pick up and read again. This is one of them I would never want to read again. So overall, I would say pass on the Sum of All Fears. It is to me like you can read like there's so many other like better Clancy books than this one, and to me this is like the absolute like one of the second worst ones. If you're curious at what it's about, be warned. It is a lot of drama to read through. It is a slow burn to get through, and if there are characters that can make your blood boil, like as high as it did with me, then I would just say pass on this book. But just a warning. What's to come if you do decide to check this book out. I just wish Clancy wrote something else instead, as I was not really pleased with this. And I guess I am kind of thankful that this book did not get made into a film, because if it did, I thought, oh my goodness, could you imagine if Clancy had his way and they had to make the Some of the Fears into a film, and you see Harrison Ford and whoever they would cast to play the Elliot character just trying to destroy his like career and his relationship. I wouldn't want to see that. If they were to make Some of All Fears into a film, I would. To me, if it was what I was to do, I would just cut that character out entirely. Just she's not worth like. To me, I felt this book could have been better if the Elliot character wasn't in it, and cut out the filler and the subplots, and if Clancy reworked the plot, it could have been a way better novel, in my opinion. And yeah, I'm just glad that this wasn't made to a film, because oh jeez, a 2-hour film with the character Ellie in it, fuck it, I'm not gonna sit through that. So. Alright, that's for the review today. Hope you enjoyed it, and sorry this took a little longer. As I said, this book was so stressful, I had to take several breaks, and there were a couple times where I just didn't want to pick it up and read it, so I had to, so I had to take some time off, and I was really reading away. Last night, I stayed up to 6 in the morning just to get this book finished, and then I spent the rest of today getting towards the finale, towards the ending of the book. It was a real brick to get through. Alright, that's for the review today. Hope you enjoy it, and for the next book in the series, I will begin reading right away. Debit of Honor. I am really hoping that this book and the later ones get a lot better, because I do not want to read another stressful political bullshit novel again. I want to read a intense, gripping, edge of my seat techno thriller. That's what I want to read, not some political bullshit. Alright, that's for the review today. Hope you enjoyed it, and please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to October Library, the YouTube channel where I post book reviews and artificial content. Until then, I'll catch you later.